Welcome to this week's episode of the Lido Loop. I am your host, Jack McCraw. With me, as always, my good friend, Jesse Barboza. Hey, we're recording on a weeknight. Doesn't it feel a little bit different?
Yeah, we're definitely busy this weekend, so today's the only day we can pretty much record, and I'm just now getting over a sickness, so my voice is a little raspy.
You could say that we had technical difficulties, especially, with your sickness and busy schedule. But luckily, we're back for you guys, and we have a lot of news to discuss. So starting on the cruise side of things, Jesse, what's the latest and greatest in the cruise world?
Yeah, so with NCL, they have a water park. They have released the opening date, and we'll talk about the pricing on that. Customers sues Carnival after their feet got a little too hot. And Royal Caribbean has a crackdown on their door decoration. Also, Carnival had a data breach and you may be impacted. And a particular cruise line can fine guests for taking food out of the food areas.
Yeah, that food story is going to be certainly interesting, and I can't wait to discuss that with you. On the theme park side of things, it's been a very busy week in the theme parks, from Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure no longer having the express pass to Texas essentially being the theme park capital of news lately, with Universal Kids announcing an opening date. Tormenta has started testing at Six Flags Over Texas. Six Flags Fiesta Texas has announced a brand new attraction for 2027 they've been teasing at with now ride footage and a name. The Iron Shark at Pleasure Pier gets guests stuck for hours. And then, of course, Cedar Point bans a fan for one of the dumbest reasons you could think of. And also, a surprise person with Houston ties has bought Caesars Entertainment. We will discuss the whole transaction and what it means for your future casino experience. That and much more on this week's episode of The Lido Loop. So kicking off the show, like we always do, we like to talk about the latest and greatest in the cruise world. And starting off, Jesse, a water park at NCL Private Destination has an opening date and a not-so-friendly price. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so on NCL's private beach, Great Stirrup Key or K, however you want to call it, they officially announced the date that they're going to be opening is September 4th of 2026. The name of the park is going to be Great Tides Water Park, and this park is actually supposed to have 19 water slides, a 170-foot tidal tower with multiple slide experiences, a 800-foot dynamic river. I think it's going to be kind of like the lazy river and wave pool at like they have at like Slitterbahn. They have cliff jumps, which are like their only kind. No one else really has them in the Bahamas. They have a 9,000 square foot splash zone. They have multiple swim-up bars, food trucks, and of course there's a bunch of private cabanas that include water park admission when you buy them. So apparently NCL is going to have dynamic pricing, which means it's going to fluctuate throughout the year. It seems like the low end is going to be about $79.99 per person per ticket, and it can go all the way up to $120. But I even did see on Reddit some people saying $180 a ticket, which I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's kind of pricey?
That's insane for a water park. Even at $100, I mean, I would like to think that most water parks shouldn't cost more than $50. And I imagine when you go to this island, you get off the ship, you only have a certain amount of allotted time before you have to go back to the ship. The crazy thing is that people are still going to pay for this no matter what, just because they're already there. But I think that's insane that you would pay $120 to, you said, $180 for a water park. No thank you, NCL.
And unfortunately, NCL kind of has this brand image that there's a lot more older people on this ship. So at first, I don't really think that they're really going to get their money's worth, because there's probably not a ton of kids that are expected to be on these cruise ships. So I mean, it's good for the kids. They're not going to be packed at all. But I don't see too many grandmas and grandpas going down these slides.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. If you're trying to change your image and change your, customer base from, the older people to the younger, families with small children, the water park is a great way to do that, but you're also putting it at a price point that not a lot of people can afford. I mean, cruising is already expensive as is. Norwegian Cruise Line, it's up there. There's definitely more expensive cruise lines in Norwegian. It's no Carnival for sure, but I imagine that people are not going to be really willing to shell out that kind of money. And I get the sense that you're already there, and like that's the cost of a quote excursion nowadays anyway. But I would rather like do anything else than spend $180. I'd rather sit on the beach for free, or pay $60 for that margarita like you got last time.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently, when you purchase a cruise from NCL, they do. If you buy the free at sea package, they do give you a $50 excursion credit you can use. But for some reason, as of right now, we're recording this, they will not let you use it towards the water park. They'll let you rent like a cabana on Great Stirrup Cay, but they will not let you get a ticket, which I don't know why. I don't know if it's just a glitch in the system right now.
I would say maybe it's too new. Maybe they want to really try out the pricing to see if that actually is going to work out. I imagine not, and that eventually the prices will go down and down. But, we've seen in this economy, things go up, 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 and just stay up. Hopefully this one will go down so more people could actually enjoy this water park.
Yeah, I'm sure when it first opens, it's going to be packed for the first couple months, and then I think it's just going to die, and then the price was going to drop significantly until NCL can actually get a good image of being more family friendly than not just for the older crowd.
I mean, I remember we had this conversation on one of our first episodes about the cost of the slides at Celebration Key, and there were only 2 slides, and it was $15. I feel like you do get a little bit more of your quote money's worth with these 19 slides, giant wave pool, and river, lazy river. But still, that price point is just so astronomically high that it might have some sticker shock, and people would stay away from that. And they might go to Carnival instead. You have sensitive feet, which is what happened to one guest who now they're suing Carnival for their feet were too hot. I'm reading the notes, and I just want to make sure that's right. Jess, you want to explain this a little bit?
Yeah, so apparently this happened on Carnival Magic. A Florida resident, I'm not going to say his name because it's probably too hard to pronounce, honestly.
It has to be a Florida man, huh?
And he apparently walked 20 steps from the pool back to his lounger. This is back in May of 2025. He said that the Lido surface was so hot that it caused second-degree burns on the soles of both feet within seconds. He was reportedly hospitalized, missed work, and claims injuries caused lasting pain and financial losses. Why do you think he's suing?
Well, I'm assuming to, one, make a quick buck. Number 2, dude, you're on a cruise ship. Where are your flip-flops? Where are your Crocs? Where are your sandals? Like, we did a whole episode about what to bring on a cruise ship, and those were definitely in stuff you should pack. Where are your regular shoes, dude?
Well, what I want to know is, of course, we won't know until after the lawsuit, takes place, whatever happens, was this guy drunk? Because, sometimes when you're intoxicated, you're kind of unaware of what's happening until the next day. and like one thing I know, being from Texas, you never walk on the concrete, especially in May.
I was going to say, and this guy's from Florida, so Florida is just as hot as Texas, if not the same level. And one, you're on a cruise ship in the beaming sun. I mean, I've gone barefoot on a cruise ship before. It's not an uncommon practice, but at the same time, if it's really hot outside, dude, go in the shade. There's so many preventable measures to prevent this guy from getting burned. And, glad he's okay, but at the same time, this is so preventable. And I really hope Carnival, settles with this guy and somehow out of court, just here, give a free cruise and stop suing us because you burnt your own feet.
I definitely think this is definitely falls under the personal responsibility. It's just like with alcohol too. That's why a lot of times people that sue for over drinking don't win, because it's all about personal responsibility. It's like Carnival also doesn't say go in the kitchen and put your hand on it. They shouldn't have to say all this stuff. They should just say, hey, use common sense, and which they can't really say that, but
I mean, this reminds me of an old story of like a woman suing McDonald's because she spilled coffee on herself and there was no sign that said caution hot. I mean, I think that's what Carnival has to do now. Like, hey, the Lido deck's going to be hot. The sun is out. We're in Florida. We're in the Caribbean. Use some common sense, people.
And so apparently the lawsuit claims that at least 25 passengers already suffered similar burn injuries over the previous 6 years. Another 42 guests reported complaining about excessive hot deck surfaces. Apparently, I've never heard this happening, but apparently the filings stated also that 2 prior cases where burn injuries alleged became so severe that amputations were required. They are allegations in the lawsuit, and they haven't yet been proven. But I don't know. That's kind of crazy again. Unless you were like standing there, like trying to have some contest of who can stand on the hot deck the longest. I don't see how you get amputated.
I don't either. Without knowing too much of how or why that was necessary, it's really hard to imagine just, having a burn would be that bad, especially just standing in the sun. I mean, it's one thing if he fell into, fire, but we talked about this earlier. If it's hot, just get out of the sun. We don't know the state of these people. You don't know if they fell asleep on the deck or, alcohol was involved, like you were saying earlier, but I just don't see how it gets that bad. And I think one of the best ways to avoid being out of the sunshine is going into the casino. You're not going to get burned down there. You might get on a heater on a machine, but you're definitely not going to suffer any third-degree burns.
Yeah, so apparently most cruise lines, they use this synthetic decking around the pool areas because it's like durable, slip resistance, but it's dark. Or synthetic surfaces can reach very high temperatures, under, when direct sunlight's hitting it. Many experienced cruisers, of course, wear flip-flops or, me personally, I wear Crocs.
So a question I wanted to ask you, though, Jesse, is there a way for cruises to add more shading, maybe have more, covers over certain chairs? I know certain hot tub areas are covered. Most of the back of Carnival ships have, the translucent roof that over the indoor pool and hot tub. Could more elements of shade be added on the Lido deck to prevent people from being burned?
I definitely think that there is possibilities, but a lot of times, like, they don't like to put like umbrellas out and all that because, I mean, you know how windy it gets on those decks.
They'll probably fly just right off.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times they don't open the umbrellas like on the back of the ships, stuff like that. A lot of times they don't even open them because they like you said, they fly off. But I think there's other options I think they possibly could do. Like have a designated spot for your shoes, so as soon as you get out of the pool, you can pick up your Crocs or your flip-flops right next to it. They could also have like misting stations that, kind of, I guess, cools the temperature down a little bit. But like we were kind of saying earlier, they probably start suing for that. What do you think?
Yeah, especially imagine if you miss the decks next to the pool, and all of a sudden some kid's running, he slips and falls, and a parent wants to sue, or a grown adult slips and falls because they've had too much to drink. I mean, the best way to avoid that, I guess, is put the wet floor signs and have the, caution hot signs all over the deck, just so that way all cruise ships can sort of cover themselves. And speaking of signs, Jesse, you and I have talked in previous episodes about certain door decorations, upside down pineapples, that are banned on stateroom doors. But now I'm hearing Royal Caribbean is cracking down on other kinds of door decorations. What else are you not allowed to put on your door anymore?
Well, Royal Caribbean actually have not said that they're cracking down on upside down pineapples like Carnival has. But what they are cracking down on now is any decorations that cover the peepholes, use lithium powered lights, anything that creates a fire hazard. It says something about it touching the door frame, but a lot of times that's kind of the only way you can hold stuff up because sometimes the door is the only thing that's magnetic. Also, you're not allowed to use adhesives that can cause damage to doors or walls, so you have to use magnets only.
I was going to say, are people actually putting like lights, like Christmas lights or any kind of like LED strips? Because most oftentimes I just see, fun little decorations on the doors, but are people actually going that above and beyond to decorate their door?
Yeah, I have definitely seen, especially a lot of people with kids. I see they like to put a lot of lights. I mean, I know me and you decorate a little bit differently.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever decorated my door once in my life.
Honestly, I never decorate either.
I'll say, I think your daughter maybe put ducks in front of the door, but that's like the most decorating I've seen your family do.
Yeah, I'm definitely, if I do decorate, it's more of just throwing a magnet on the door. And you probably know the reason why I do that, right?
Why is that, Jesse?
Hey, whenever you're hanging out at the Tides bar and you had a few too many alcoholic beverages, all the staterooms start looking the same. So when you walk in, you see, oh, that's my magnet over there. I know that's my room.
I think I did remember seeing like you had like an American flag or something on there, and I was like, oh yeah, that is Jesse's room. But yes, be careful with how you decorate your doors, because there could be a certain crackdown on certain decorations. But other cruise lines that are in trouble are Carnival, because there has been a pretty big data breach that could be affecting a lot of Texas residents, Jesse, and cruisers all over the country. You want to tell us a little bit about?
Yes, so this actually didn't happen not just with Carnival itself, but acted like under the Carnival umbrella. They didn't specifically mention what Carnival entity actually got like hacked, but apparently 6 million people were impacted. Data was apparently reported later leaked online after the ransom negotiations failed. I guess I'm sure they tried to extort Carnival to.
Were they just trying to get a free cruise out of this?
Probably something like that. But apparently the things that may have been exposed is your full name, address, email, phone numbers, date of birth, loyalty/membership details, government ID, like passport, driver's license number. This is kind of considered high-risk data because it can be used for identity theft or fraud. Carnival confirmed the breach publicly and notified regulators. But honestly, this was kind of late because people were talking about this like a month and a half ago, and they were silent for a long time. I definitely reported hearing people talk about this because a lot of them have their own identity, software to make sure that they, no one steals their identity. And Carnival was silent about it for a long time until they absolutely had to report something.
I mean, that's not exactly good PR right there.
Yeah, I don't know why they were silent. Maybe because they were unsure about it, or they knew they wanted to get a good statement, I'm guessing. But apparently now they did email all the people that were affected. Me and you both weren't one of them.
No, I just get on their spam email. I luckily was not one of those people affected, and thank goodness you weren't either.
Yeah. But they apparently are offering 2 years of free credit monitoring through TransUnion. They also brought in a cyber security firm to investigate and make their system more secure.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a scary, story, and especially in this modern world, because, anytime your data leaks out there, anytime you post really anything on the internet, you're subject to, people getting that information and putting it out elsewhere. So it is scary, and I'm, hopefully Carnival can, rectify this, especially those people that identities were potentially corrupted and stolen. And it's just one of those scary stories. But, thankfully, if you did not receive an email, you will be fine. And then another thing Carnival has to worry about, well, more so Costa. Jesse, tell us about a crackdown on food not being allowed out of the dining rooms over there.
Yeah, so Costa is now not allowing guests to take food from the buffet or the restaurants back to the cabin. They also cannot take food to pool decks, lounges, or other non-dining areas. And apparently you will be charged 60 to 70 pounds cleaning fees, which is about $70 to $80 in American. So you can only now eat in the buffet or main dining room, or But for some reason, they do let you still order room service.
Okay, that was going to be my first question. If you can't have food, bring food to your room, but at least you still get it delivered via room service. But that's just going to cost extra, so they don't want to lose money that way. Something I thought of with this, because Costa is more of a European brand, correct?
Yeah, so definitely not American brand.
I was going to say Americans are dirty. We leave food everywhere. Imagine not only just the Lido deck, where you see plates and everything everywhere. You see busboys come in and clean tables like in an instant. They'll leave them on chairs. They'll leave them in the casino. They'll literally leave food anywhere that is possible. I wonder if Europeans started picking up that habit, and that's why they're starting to find them, whereas this is just more of a normality here in the United States.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I definitely think that I don't think that this is going to spread to Carnival or any other entity under Carnival umbrella. But what I do definitely can see this happening is I think that they're just trying to get extra money in another way. Because, now the only way to get food to your room is through room, now to pay for it, right? So maybe they're trying to see if to get a little extra money that way. But according to them, the reason that they're not allowing people to do this is because of hygiene and sanitation, prevent food contamination, avoid dirty plates left in the hallways, reduce pest control, and controlling food handling, because only trained crew delivers can bring food to your cabin.
See, that's lip service. Yes, everything they say makes perfect sense, but I'm sorry, that's part of the cruise experience, going to get your pizza at midnight and then going back to your room to go watch a movie. Or you said that you can't even bring them to the deck chairs? So what's to stop someone from going from the buffet, which, buffets could be upstairs on the Lido deck too, just right next to the pool? I guess they're just roped off, or they have someone guarding it.
I don't think that they're really having guard it, and I'm unsure how they enforce it, because how good they are at forcing, chair hogs, like we talked about last week. So I doubt they're going to be big enforcers on this. But it is something that we definitely want to keep an eye on, just to make sure it's not going to Carnival, because I know my son, he goes down to the pizza place like 20 times every day, and I'm not going to lie, man, there's sometimes a big 10 stacks of plates, of his pizza that he's gotten. And so hopefully it just does not affect Carnival down the road.
What I think, kind of glad you brought up the, chair hogs story that we talked about last week. The rules are in place in case they need to enforce it. And I think this could be something that Costa is doing as well, where maybe they're just tired of seeing how dirty it is, and they're warning guests, hey, if you do this, you could be subjected to a fine. And they could use the fine, but that's rule more so there that they can enforce it when they need to, not when they want to.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the reason. I think that there's a fine line of, like, if someone just brings one plate and just some snack food, they're not going to say anything. But if they come in your stateroom and it looks like a pigsty, I'm pretty sure they're going to definitely use that fee and get a little bit extra money out of you.
Obviously, I do feel for those, house workers that come in and, have to clean the room on we talk about this off air, sometimes twice a day, and they just see like so many plates. This will definitely make their jobs a little bit easier, and I think that's what another reason they could be doing this is more so for the morale of the workers, and also to keep the ship looking from like a college party that just happened in the hallway.
So that kind of covers all of our cruise news. So in theme park news, Jack, so what's going on with Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure?
I'm glad you did that all in one take and said the whole name. Very good. So remember we went to Universal last time and everyone wanted to go on Hagrid's, but it was close to a 3-hour wait.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Well, that's because I believe it was starting last year or the year prior. Hagrid started adding Express Pass, which, that's basically Universal's version of Fast Pass. And Hagrid's, up to that point, had not been part of the Fast Pass, but now they are no longer going to be part of Express Pass just because the wait is just getting ridiculous. When we went, it wasn't even a busy day, and there was still a 3-hour line when the second longest line I think we waited for was 45 minutes for Spider-Man. So Universal is now taking away the Express Pass starting on July 1st, so that way more guests can ride the ride. Now, there's two schools of thoughts here. The people who don't pay for the Express Passes are incredibly happy because you can actually ride Hagrid's for a decent wait. And, today, summer day, Monday in June, I saw the wait time hit about 75 minutes, which that's understandable for Hagrid's. Not 3 hours. But the other people who are upset about this are the people who are paying those premium prices for Express Pass or who are staying on the luxury, Hard Rock Hotel and other Universal resorts that get these Express Passes. Because you could still ride everything in the park with Express except this right now. Now, where do you kind of lie on this? I mean, I personally don't do the Express Passes at Universal just because they're expensive. The last time when we tried to get them, it was like $200 for the day, and we really didn't even need them.
Yeah, I mean, I know Disney's Express Pass is definitely a lot better than Universal's. But, man, I definitely, as a person who never really gets the Express Pass, I definitely like this, definitely, 100%, because you're right. It was really long, and, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a fun ride, and for people who do ride it, make sure you take motion sickness, because I'm usually not that bad, but, man, that's the only ride that I definitely needed motion sickness.
Yeah, it's with all those multiple launches, and it's definitely... I would say it's up there with Velocicoaster as far as the best roller coaster. I still prefer Velocicoaster over Hagrid's, and then Hulk. I mean, it's a great 1, 2, 3 for Universal's Islands of Adventure. But knowing now that more people can ride this will definitely make a lot more people happy.
So speaking of Universal, so what's with this new resort that's opening on July 1st?
Yep, we finally got an opening date. Universal Kids in Frisco, Texas, will be opening July 1st to the general public, and they've been sharing a little bit more details about the park. Jesse, what were your initial thoughts? I shared some, drone flyover footage, and it showed some of the lands. Do you have any initial takeaways from what you've seen?
I mean, of course, the biggest thing we saw was the lack of shade, and
especially here in Texas.
Here in Texas, we're 100 degrees in the shade as it is already going to be crazy. And I'm pretty sure that this clientele, which is, what's the age range going for?
It's saying it's supposed to be from kids ages 4 to 10. So maybe they're not too worried about shade, but I'm sure parents are definitely going to be upset about that.
Yeah, honestly, because I'm not going to lie. As I usually take my kids when they were that young to places where I like to enjoy too, like at least hanging out where it's comfortable for me to hang out and watch them, like in an air-conditioned building or like Universal Islands of Adventure. I love that because the amount of indoor waiting areas they had, right?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on our summer tips and tricks when visiting Universal. Hulk, Spider-Man, King Kong, Hagrid's, like we just spoke about, Velocicoaster, Harry Potter Forbidden Journey, even Cat in the Hat. They all had indoor queues that you could stay cool during the summertime. And a lot of these rides look like off-the-shelf attractions. More so, your typical kiddie coasters. I saw there was a SpongeBob bus that was spinning around. I mean, it's definitely a park made for kids. So, I mean, hopefully, I feel like this is a common theme in theme parks, too. When Toy Story Land opened at Hollywood Studios, there was no shade, and there's still very little. Epic Universe also has very little shade, and those are in Florida. With this park here in Texas, especially with it opening in the middle of the summertime, it's definitely going to be hot for, feel for those parents, but just a little bit more details about the park. So it's going to have areas themed Shrek Swamp, Jurassic World, Adventure Camp, Bikini Bottom, big SpongeBob area. Big SpongeBob fan you are.
Hey, if they could have an adult park, I think, and I would still go to that. I think it'd be funny.
I think that could be in the future, and I'll get to that here in a moment, but Trolls Fest, Gabby's Dollhouse, Puts in Booths, Del Mar, and a Minions themed attraction. So yes, this resort is definitely catered towards children, but I think this is also a testing park for Universal because there is still a lot of undeveloped land around where Universal Kids Park is opening, and I think this is more of a blue sky concept, but I think depending on how successful this park is, a actual Universal park will be able to open in Texas. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, let's hope. But it seems like that they're like the age range isn't really that great, honestly. It seems like because if you're building a park like Universal Islands of Adventure or Epic Universe, to be honest, I think adults on down would enjoy that park. And when it seems like when you're narrowing down on just a particular age group, it seems like you're kind of cutting your.
Because what happens when those kids grow up? I mean, you're just having to hopefully replenish, recycle just these young kids going there. I mean, yes, there will still be adults that go there, but it's probably incredibly few and far between. Not even close to what you would get at an actual Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, or Epic Universe. When this park was first announced, I was pretty excited because, we're finally getting a Universal here in Texas. And this type of park has been done. I know SeaWorld owns Sesame Street Place, which that, recently filed for bankruptcy. And so this could be it seems like it's just such a niche market. And, families with young children, great for them. But me with no kids and you with, teenagers, when exactly are we going to ever go to this park except to review it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I'm probably never go. I might take my nieces and nephew there. That's about it.
It's like, I'll get a friend to get footage for us so I can put it on the channel.
Yeah, but I definitely hoping that this will grow to another actual Universal park. I think it'd be awesome having a Universal park here in Texas. I mean, it's a perfect location if you think about it, because we got it on the East Coast and the West Coast. Why not put one in the Central Coast? Yeah, so Frisco is, for the people who don't live in Texas, is actually near Dallas. And actually, speaking of Dallas, what's going on with Tormenta?
So it started testing, and it happened the day after I got the footage, of our magnificent short that I put on the YouTube channel. They started testing a few days ago, and the ride seems to be gearing closer to opening. Now, it's a little weird because in the footage I showed, there's still a lot of dirt around the coaster. There's still, cranes and tractors on site. So I think we're still a little bit of ways away. If I had to take an educated guess, I think this is going to open sometime in July, maybe even early August. It might have just been a little bit behind due to weather, due to, any kind of certain factors. But yes, Tormenta, the record-breaking coaster that's going to break 6 records, including tallest dive coaster at 309 feet, the fastest dive coaster at 87 miles an hour, the longest dive coaster at 4,199 feet, tallest vertical loop at 179 feet, and then highest Immelman inversion and highest 95-degree beyond vertical drop will be waiting for us soon here in Arlington. Now, I know you like Dr. Diabolical. How do you feel about riding a roller coaster like that, but double in size?
Me personally, I would love it. I love the drops. I definitely looking forward to this. This is definitely a reason to go up to Arlington, right?
Yes, I've never been on a roller coaster that's taller than 300 feet tall. The tallest roller coaster I've been on is Titan in Texas. So, the fact that, Six Flags Over Texas initially had the tallest coaster in Texas, and now they're getting one that's more than 50 feet taller than that is going to be astounding. And, I can't wait to get that kind of footage. And, hopefully I could be there on opening day when Tormenta opens.
Do they have an official opening day yet?
They do not. My gut says late July, early August, just because I do think that they're still working out some things. But, maybe to compete with the opening of the Universal Kids Park, they could announce it closer to that date, like maybe a little bit after, just so that way, once the hype dies down for Universal, those, same families will go back to Six Flags Over Texas.
So speaking of Six Flags, but now Fiesta Texas, what's the name of this new coaster?
So we've been teasing it for a little bit, and the ride that Fiesta Texas has been teasing us since the start of the year has officially announced a name. And you ready for it? Werewolf George. Now, initial thoughts, it's a kind of a silly name for a coaster, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know any werewolves, and I don't know George.
I was going to say, I don't know any werewolves named George either. Some research I did on this, apparently George was a pseudonym for a popular werewolf rider. That's a fun thing to say. So that could be it. Maybe it's just some sort of public domain werewolf that they could use without paying any kind of licensing fee. But the new ride at Fiesta Texas will be a family launch coaster by Vekoma. It'll be the longest family launch coaster in the world with 4,120 feet of track. And it's going to apparently go through the quarry wall just like Iron Rattler and just like Superman does. So, and it's supposedly, it's a 2 minute and 36-second attraction, by the way. So there's going to be 4 launches, multiple airtime hills. So, and apparently there's a little bit of theming too. I posted on the Facebook group, but there is wolves that are going to be there, and it sounds like there might be some audio. And the big, spoiler alert at the end, the big werewolf gets you. I mean, I like how Fiesta Texas is starting to like theme up their attractions, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely think. I feel like they're trying to get stuff that where they don't have to pay like branding fees or anything like that. I mean, watching the video, it did seem like it's definitely, I guess, scary themed in a way. I guarantee you this is great during Halloween time for this.
Oh, absolutely. I imagine a night ride on this would be phenomenal, especially with, assuming the effects work, the wolves don't fall down and they never get replaced again, like what happened at Roadrunner.
Yeah, watching the video, I mean, it was kind of dark, right? You would think that they would try to keep this ride open into the evening, right?
Absolutely. And, that section where they're building it is, in Crack Axle Canyon, which now is going to host, I would say, 4 of the top 10 coasters there with Roadrunner, this new Werewolf George,
Rattler.
Yeah, of course, you got to mention that one, and then Dr. Diabolical, all like within, a stone's throw of each other. So I'd like to see that Fiesta Texas is continuing to invest in new rides in the park, and their last big, attraction was Dr. Diabolical almost 5 years ago now at this point. So it seems like, every other year it's Six Flags Over Texas, Fiesta Texas. I'm glad to see Six Flags is keeping Texas as a priority park. And you know what? I'm sorry, but this show, Texas is definitely on top of the theme park news. I know y'all probably tired of us talking about our home parks. Well, Texas is the leader right now, don't you think?
Well, we actually got one more for you too, actually. So what's the story about someone getting stuck on roller coasters for how long?
Apparently it lasted 4 hours, and this happened in your favorite city, Galveston, at Pleasure Pier. So that is kind of the only one of 2 major roller coasters here in the Houston area. So Iron Shark is a Gerstlauer Eurofighter, 100 feet tall, only sits about 8 passengers per cart. It got stuck on the chain lift hill, and it left guests stranded for about 4 hours. And, firefighters had to go up there. Since this is on a boardwalk, so, it's not just, hey, a fire truck can just drive on there. They had to evacuate the park. They had to get the fire truck onto the boardwalk. They had to get essentially like take everyone out one at a time while they're stuck on a 90-degree angle just facing the sky. I feel for these kids. Luckily, no one was hurt, and, they were only treated for, dehydration afterwards.
Yeah, so the people who don't live in the Texas area, Pleasure Pier is pretty much a pier that used to be a hotel, am I right?
Yes, it used to be the flagship hotel from 1965 until 2008 when it was destroyed by Hurricane Ike. And then, of course, a certain billionaire who we'll talk about here in momentarily bought that and turned it into an amusement park. And, it's been open since 2012, and we've been there a couple times. It's solid. It's, think Santa Monica Pier, but on a much smaller scale and in Galveston.
Yeah, it's something you're not going to spend all day there. It's something you'll spend, hey, I got a couple hours just to kill. Here's they definitely got food places to eat like bubblegum shrimp and stuff like that.
Hey, don't forget the greatest rainforest cafe in the world. I don't know if you've been to that one, but that one actually has its own amusement attraction and a river raft ride that rivals Six Flags. Not at all, but it's definitely a good place to spend $5 to go see some bad animatronics. It could be worse. You could be, instead of at Pleasure Pier, you could be banned from Cedar Point, Jesse, did you see this story about a guy who got banned for eating McNuggets on a roller coaster?
I don't know if they're actually McNuggets, but they were nuggets, right?
Yes, I don't think that the nuggets were confirmed, so we're not giving any free publicity to McDonald's, Wendy's, or whomever's chicken nuggets. But yes, there was a YouTuber named Alan Farrell who had 1.8 million subscribers, posted a stunt where he smuggled in a box of nuggets, and I say smuggled because he literally put it in his pants, took it out on the ride, and started eating them on Millennium Force. Now, to those who don't know, Millennium Force is a 310-foot, 93-mile-an-hour giga coaster at Cedar Point. So not only was this stunt pretty dangerous, but he also got banned from the park. Now, first things first, would you do anything this kind of crazy?
Not really. I mean, I know the craziest thing we do is like, when we do have like serious faces, like whenever we're like the camera comes by, we just act like we're not excited. I know me and you have done that multiple times, and I've definitely seen other YouTubers like play chess. Remember they have multiple people do crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, like those like famous like Splash Mountain photos where they just bring like stuff on there just so that way they can have the good shot. Well, this guy took it to another level, and the person sitting next to him, I'm assuming which was his cameraman, was filming him, and at one point he's even holding a packet of sauce and he's dipping the nuggets while he's on the roller coaster eating them. Sadly, he only got through 7 of his 10 nuggets, and this all happened because he was a dare. Someone put in his comments and said, eat 10 chicken nuggets on a roller coaster.
How did they catch them? That's what I want to know.
I mean, they probably just saw it on social media and like, oh yeah, let's just go ahead and ban this guy.
But he wasn't just banned from this park, am I right?
No, he was banned from not only Cedar Fair, but all other Six Flags and Cedar Fair parks. So, I mean, hope you got your clout for that, dude. If you guys want to comment dares for us on roller coasters, we're probably not going to eat nuggets, but, we'll do the stare challenge, or I've seen that. That's popular. But yeah, this one is definitely one of the weirdest theme park incidences I've ever seen. And, I'm kind of siding with the park on this one because all jokes aside,
he could have choked or something like that.
Yeah, he could have put himself or the ride or others in danger. He did it in the back seat so that way he wouldn't hurt anybody. But, I mean, this is just stupidity at its finest.
This guy's really not that popular. I mean, I know he's got like 1.2 or what do you say?
It's 1.8. Let's give him a little bit of credit there, I guess.
1.8 million. How do you think they're going to enforce this ban on them? Like, there's no way that because they don't check IDs or everyone that goes in there. You can easily change your name and no one checks that. Am I correct?
Yeah, if you buy I'm not advocating this by any means, but if you do buy a ticket to a theme park under a different name, I guess technically they can't stop you. I mean, I guess if security recognizes you, but that's such a very low chance unless you are famous or just have some sort of clout where, you can be seen in a crowd. There was a YouTuber, Adam the Woo, God rest his soul, got banned from Disney, but because he was so popular, they recognized him and then they kicked him out as soon as they noticed him. And I've seen other celebrities that have been, quote, banned from Disney, but I feel like Six Flags they'll definitely not enforce a ban like that as to the level of Disney. Disney probably has facial recognition and stuff where Six Flags, it's like, no, that doesn't look like you. You're good.
So I know this may not be cruise news or even theme park news, but we kind of like casino news. So apparently there's a new owner of Caesars Entertainment. Am I right?
Yes, and that owner is local Houston billionaire Tilman Fretitta. Now, those of you in Texas might know him as the owner of the Rockets and owner of
Pleasure Pier, like we just talked about.
Pleasure, we're bringing everything back together. Landry's, Rainforest Cafe, Bubblegum Shrimp. 2 mentions of Bubblegum Shrimp. But yes, so he also owns casinos like the Golden Nugget, and now Tilman Fertitta has purchased Caesars Entertainment for $17.6 billion. That's right, $17.6 billion. So I didn't realize this. Caesars had about $11.9 billion of debt, and Tilman essentially eliminated that debt when he purchased it. So, Caesar stock has rise at this point, and he now owns not 1, not 2, but 8 casinos in Las Vegas alone, in addition to other local Caesars properties around the country. Now, you and I have been to Caesars properties, Horseshoe in Lake Charles. There's also a Horseshoe that we went to in Baltimore. We've even been to Caesars Palace, which, I heard you were kind of disappointed by Caesars Palace. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm definitely disappointed. I'm pretty sure he bought this for the same reason I did. They thought Caesar lived there.
Yeah, and apparently Caesar doesn't live there, and the hotel is not very pager-friendly, so I hope Tilman Fretitta changes that. But this does make him a pretty major player in the casino industry, because if you really think about it here in North America, the big two is MGM and Caesars. And now Caesars is expanding their reach, and now they're going to be acquired by, the Golden Nugget is now going to be a Caesars brand hotel and casino. So that could be a game changer in the gambling industry, and it's something to look forward to see how Caesars will change overall.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because they definitely got a lot of debt, and so I'm guessing that he's definitely going to make some policies to change that to get out of debt.
Well, the main reason I think he bought Caesars is because how else is he going to be able to afford Kevin Durant for another year? But that'll do it for this week's episode of the Lido Loop, and as always, you can find us anywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. We have the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. We are the Lido Loop. I'm Jack, that's Jesse, and we will see you
on the Lido deck,
trying not to burn our feet.
Thank you for watching this episode of Lido Loop. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time we post more content.